We've got Josh, who's, let's see, what is it? Technical Faults, @TechnicalFaults on Twitter. Josh is going to be talking how to win Foursquare friends and influence people. There you can see it on screen. At the end of the night, we're going to have another chat with Josh, because he is involved in the running of Social Media Cafe Manchester. So, Josh, I don't know your surname, but without further ado, let's welcome Josh.
Thanks. Can everyone hear me? Just that? It's better doing karaoke, actually, isn't it? Let me move this slightly, just so we can. Actually, if I do that, I'll break it. Let's not do that. Okay. Hi. Thanks for having me. My name's Josh. I don't have a surname. A bit like Prince. Everyone calls me Josh, and they know me by Technical Faults. As you said, I am living in Manchester, although as you can tell from my accent, I'm not from Manchester, so it's impossible to the north altogether, but I love it. So today, just so you know what my background, I'm a digital producer in the public sector, which doesn't say very much, but my main area of interest is social media, something that I've got into through my day-to-day role. And as you mentioned, I'm obviously helping out running the Social Media Cafe in Manchester. And it's great to see that kind of movement kind of spreading across the whole north to northwest, and nationally as well. So great to kind of be involved and see how it develops, and hopefully maybe help out as necessary. So my presentation today is entitled "How to Win Foursquare Friends and Influence People." But is this going to work? I'm trying new technology today, as always. But really, I guess what it should be called is what is geosocial networking and how to make it work for you. Now, I've tried to cover quite a lot of bases in this because it's quite a mixed crowd today. So I'll whiz through, and if there's any questions, perhaps we can talk about at the end, or just raise your hand if I'm going way out or if my accent is not understandable. So, I guess the first question is, what is geosocial networking? Does that come up? No? New technology fail? Let's go. I've got another backup. Does this work? Hey, look at that. This is amazing, isn't it? So what is geosocial networking? And geosocial networking, I guess, is social networking plus geolocation. Maybe a bit of a cop-out, but I guess what that means is it's using information about where people are to connect, to coordinate, to share, and to inform. But kind of how does it work? Well, geosocial networking is powered by geocoding and geotagging. What that means is, if we know where things are, that's the geocoding. If everything's given a code about geographically, where that road is, where that tree is even, or where that office is, then we know where that thing is. And that means we can tag events, we can geotag events or other things with that location. And therefore, people can use that information about where something is with where an event or such is going to be to match events to places. But really, why is this important? Now, a couple of key stats here. Foursquare, which is in the title of this presentation, is adding 100,000 users every week, so it's growing very quickly. Facebook, the world's largest social network, is adding a geolocation feature which is going to reach 400 million users. And Twitter has recently launched, or if you want, relaunched, a feature called Twitter Places. So I've got a screenshot of that here. As you can see, it means that on twitter.com and mobile Twitter, you can see attached to each tweet, if a user chooses to, you can see broadly where that person is. So it's not down to a pinpoint, it's down to, say, a suburb or a neighbourhood or arena. So I guess that's some examples. But how can we make this work for you? Now, I don't really know who you are. I mean, are there businesses here? Business people? Business types? A few nods? Yeah? Are there journalists? Well, there are some journalists there, aren't there? Definitely.
Human beings.
There are some human beings as well. And of course, you're all individuals. So let me talk a bit about why I think people need to be aware of geosocial networking, why I think it needs to be made to work. Okay, well, geosocial is going mainstream. I've just quoted some stats about the growth of Foursquare. I've quoted some stats about the fact that Facebook is rolling out some kind of geosocial add-on to their system. But why are people using geosocial networking? I think this is a key question. They're using it to meet new people. So, for example, here I've got a screenshot of my Foursquare app when I've gone out to lunch one day, and I've what's called checked in. So I've announced my location somewhere. It happens to be my favourite burrito joint, Pancho's Burritos in Manchester. And I've said, I'm getting some lunch, I'll be around for a while. What that means is that's a message to people who I'm connected with. Say, I'm going to be here for an hour. If you want to meet up and hang out, have lunch, have a chat, then I'm available. People are checking in also to get tips and recommendations about what to do in different places. And this is something that's particularly interesting to me, because I came from London to Manchester, and I knew basically no one. I actually knew one person in Liverpool, that was about it. And I thought, I need to connect with everyone, what's going on. So actually, 18 months ago, Foursquare hadn't taken off, and I used Twitter. But if I was new to Manchester today, or new to North today, I'd log on to Foursquare. And what I do is, here's some screenshots again from my own Twitter account, Foursquare account, pardon me. And on the right-hand side, you can see it's got something called nearby tips. So I can see what's going on around me. I can see what people have tipped. I can see what people are saying I should go and do. So for example, someone suggests that I should go, or someone suggests that I could go to a fashion network, which is like a free kind of fashion thing. And someone suggests a coffee shop, which is quite cool. And on the left-hand side, you can see I put a thing up, a screen showing how you can add a tip. So that's my burrito joint. And I could add a tip there by saying how amazing those burritos are. And also, people are checking in for the win. And I'm sure you've all heard about Foursquare in the context of being a mayor or getting points or being on a leaderboard. And actually, that is definitely something that people like to do. Because people like a bit of competition. People like to know what's going on. So, again, here's a little screen dump from the internet showing how I'm actually the mayor of my burrito joint because I go there all the time. It happens to be right underneath my office, which is quite convenient. Now, how can we make all these things work for us as individuals and us as perhaps business people, people interested in promoting our messages or offers or whatever through geosocial networks? People are checking in, give them something to tweet about, and not just tweet, it could be Facebook or whatever. What do these networks connect out with? Because remember, the key thing about these networks are connections, and they all hook up to Twitter. I'm talking about Foursquare today, partly because it's one of the fastest growing, but also because it's one that's got the most zeitgeist that works well. And the one that I know most about, probably. So, make it work for you. People are checking in, giving things to tweet about. Here is an example of what Starbucks are doing in the US. They're saying, if you're a mayor of the place, it means if you checked in here the most of anyone who's checked in, you can get a free cup of coffee. And in fact, they're trying to promote their own free frappuccino in the US. So, what I guess I've come up with, and it's not just me, I've gone around the internet, so it's a little crowdsourced presentation. What I've come up with is, I guess, 5 kind of tips for small businesses, small business people to take away and potentially use to make Foursquare and other networks work for them. 5 tips, here we go. I guess the first one is keep it simple. So if you make an offer through Foursquare or similar, don't let the customer work for it. Make sure all they have to do is check in or be at the venue, be the mayor of the venue. So for example, in Manchester, there's a bar called Trough, and if you check in there 10 times, you get a free meal. That's quite simple. Every time you go there, check in, get a free meal. There's another restaurant where if you're the mayor, so you've been there the most, you get a free bottle of wine with a meal, which is quite good. That's quite simple. All you have to do is go there and check in, which means that you as a business owner get free advertising from that person checking in, and that person feels valued by being there. Secondly, don't be cheap. Make it a worthwhile discount. So I'm just talking about a bottle of wine and a meal. It's probably worth spending 10 seconds on your phone checking in for, and checking in each time at a venue. Customers are likely to tell their friends and tweet about it, that sort of thing. But also track your stats. So when you register with things like Foursquare and other networks, you usually get access to an analytics dashboard. Unfortunately, I don't have a screenshot of that here. That lets you track things like how many people check in on a given day, how useful, what sort of tips they put down, what are busy times, that sort of thing. So that's quite useful information actually for not just for tracking demand, but also kind of working out what groups go in there. So for example, there's a bunch of us meet on Tuesday nights in the Mad Lab, which is a digital meetup event every month. And we always go across the road to Bartle Common. And if they see that we're checking in there every Tuesday night, then they know that we're the kind of people who go there and they can potentially offer us, hopefully free booze. And another one, keep it fresh. This is 4 out of 5. Keep it fresh. So just like in the store, change around your offers. Don't have the same offer each time. Because people like to have a reason to check in. They know that if you check in, and there could be a different offer there, or it could be something that they can access better. So what I mean is, if your offer is just mayors, then someone's got to spend a long time becoming the mayor or becoming the person who's checked in there most in order to access that offer. Whereas if it's a more casual offer, like check in, get a free, I don't know, free small fries, whatever, then that's something you might want to check in for. And the other one is move offline. So praise your mayor, make them feel like they're actually welcomed and recognised. So people who check in frequently, people who come up quite a lot, actually you can think about how can we recognise the people, how can we make it worth their while again checking into that venue. So you can put their username on a board or a picture or whatever, something to suitably embarrass them by. I also put together a few top tips for individuals, which came from a blog post I wrote the other day. Because I think Foursquare and similar apps all about people, all about making sure that what you're doing is going to help other people who are following you. So actually, the first thing I've said is turn off your tweets. Now, if you're active on Twitter, you might have seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm at Static Gallery, I'm at such and such," and that's all great. But actually, I don't necessarily want to see when you checked in at home or when you checked in at the train station, because that means nothing to me. Actually, what I think people should do is turn off the default tweeting or Facebooking of your geolocation. But then answer the question, what are you doing? Remember the original Twitter question. For example, when I checked in here today, I checked in at Static Gallery and I said, I'm here for SMC Lit. So that means my followers know that I'm here for this event, and other people here who are tracking the hashtag SMC Lit can see that I'm here and they can say hello, hopefully, if I'm not too scary about this. And I guess my third tip is to actually leave tips. So not cash, although I'm sure the bar will appreciate some cash, but actually hints, tips, and recommendations. So you saw earlier how I was leaving tips at Pancho's Burritos, and things I've put down are like, get the chili burrito, get this, get that. And that means that people who come into these places, it actually pops up on the screen, tip, get this item or avoid this item. I have to admit, I probably put more negative tips than I put positive tips, but that's just me. But additionally, those kind of tips are a great way for people new to the area to build a to-do list. On Foursquare, for example, you can add tips to like a kind of folder, and it might say, go to this art gallery and see this exhibition. And it's great, say on a Sunday afternoon if you're bored, skim through the tips and see what you want to do. Same slide. Okay, winning over your friends, that bit. Now, the more people who use networks like this, and I guess I'm talking about Foursquare because that is the most popular, the more useful it is. It's actually really easy to arrange meetups now. If I log onto Foursquare and look at the people I'm following on there, I know who's around, I know who's here, I know who's at a bar, and if I want to hang out after work for a bit, I can skim that and I can see who's going where. And also through Foursquare, I can send out a message saying I'm going to go for a pint at Common Bar or whatever, and people can see that and they can choose to accompany me. Now the Battletobebear, which I'll refer to several times, in case you don't know, to be a mayor of a location means you're the person who's checked in there the most over a two-month period. And actually, although that's quite a that's a bit of a game, I find it really useful because if somewhere is a place that people are battling to be mayor, that's somewhere that I probably want to go to, somewhere that my friends are quite interested in going to, they want to go there quite a lot, they want to hang out there. So that's an indication for me of a venue's popularity, and also if someone is a mayor of a venue, I know that's an endorsement. So I'm a mayor of several places that I like to go out in, a couple of bars and also a couple of art galleries. That means, in a sense, that's an endorsement from me to my friends that this is the place to go out. So that's been quite a whistle-stop sort of thing. In conclusion, because we'll go to questions in a bit, geosocial networks like Foursquare are growing and growing fast. As I said, 100,000 visitors, 100,000 sign-ups a week. That was a stat from just last week, in fact. Again, Foursquare, 400 million users, as I keep saying. They're going to roll out something. Not Foursquare, pardon me. Facebook, 400 million users. That's going to be something they're rolling out very soon. And they are great for recommending local places and things to do. And actually, they're very easy to make them work for you as an individual or as a business. So, that brings me very briefly to questions, which I hope will take up the most part of this discussion.